You'll have to excuse, there will be a wee amount of movement going on around the stage now as we swap things over and bring some different people on, because we didn't want to get all looking at the same faces all the way through. What I will do is that I'm going to carry on a bit of a Colston Hall tradition, because I understand usually around at this point somebody tells you a bit of a story, sometimes called a joke, I believe. It depends on how much you laugh at the end of it. So if you could laugh quite a lot, I won't feel quite so bad. I'm actually a teacher by profession, and I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to one of my colleagues. Now, I don't know if many of you have been in school at Christmas time, but it's a fantastic time to be in school. There's lots going on. The children are always very happy and very excited. They make cards, they make decorations, we put productions on. There's lots going on. But it can also be a bit of a busy time and a bit of a stressful time for a teacher. And one such teacher who I used to work with one year was finding it particularly stressful. There'd been a lot going on. The school production had gone really well until the mic stopped working halfway through. And the Christmas cards she thought were really good, but some of the parents weren't too happy with them. So one day she came into school and she wasn't feeling too good at all. She was actually in quite a bad mood. And as tends to happen on days like that, the children, of course, were in a really good mood and were really happy Christmas was coming. And one of the children was desperate to tell her all about something that happened to them over the weekend. And they were stood at the back of the class with their hands in the air, waving there. Miss, can I talk to you? Miss, can I tell you my story? Miss? Well, she ignored this little boy for as long as she could, but eventually she did feel a bit bad and thought, well, she'd better see what he has to say. So she said, yes, Johnny, what is it that you wanted to tell me? What was it you wanted to tell me? Well, she said, I had a really, really amazing thing happen to me this weekend. We learned the story of Jonah and the whale. And the teacher said, well, that was really, really interesting for you. She said, it was amazing, miss. This fella got swallowed by a great big fish. And then the fish spat him back out again and he was okay. Well, the teacher had a bit of a bad day and she was in one of those moods, so she turned around to little Johnny and she said, probably something that she shouldn't have said. She said, you do know, Johnny, of course, that that's not really scientifically possible. That would never really happen. Well, Johnny was against it. He said, I think you're wrong, miss. I think they told me that in Sunday school, and everything they told me in Sunday school is always true, so that must be right. I don't really talk. That must be true. That's definitely what happened. And the teacher said, well, she said, I'm ever so sorry, but no, it's not actually physically possible for a fish to swallow a person of them surviving fish and to be spat out on the beach. Well, little Johnny was adamant and stamped his foot. He said, no, miss, I'm sorry, but you're wrong. And she said, to prove you wrong, what I'm going to do is when I die, and when I go to heaven, I'm going to ask Jonah and see what he says. Well, the teacher, by this point, who was a bit fed up with it all, had enough, then turned around and said, she said, but what if Jonah isn't in heaven? And Johnny could with a flash replied, oh, well, I'll get you to ask him. We're going to move on with our program. We're going to have another sing. Now, the first sing that we just had, it wasn't too bad, you did quite well, but we're actually going to give you a little bit of a help with this. And we're going to have our special guest, Rob, is actually going to sing the first verse for us. And because I'm feeling a bit generous, I'll only say sitting down. What we did notice as well during the first game is I think a number of us may not have had our carol sheets. Just so you know, all the carols are on the back of the program. So if you couldn't find them, there they are. But if you haven't got a program, if you want to just wave your hand about in the air, we'll see if we can get a few people to get the words out. Because obviously, that would explain why the singing for the first carol wasn't bad, but I expect better from this one. So what we're going to do is, Rob's going to sing through the first verse of One Single on David City Forwards, and then I'd like you all to join in the second and third verses. Thank you very much.